Franz von Kearney, writings by Frank Schmidt on the Danube Swabian people. These collected writings are republished in memory of the author, Frank Schmidt, so that others may continue to enjoy his work. May his spirit live on. Contributions to the region. With the Turks out of Hungary, the Hungarian magnates were quick to take back their properties, as well as some other land they felt entitled to. The most arable soil, of course. The Germans invariably received the worst land, more often than not swampy areas endemic to malaria. More than half of the original settlers perished from this disease in the early years. In Germany, Hungary became known as the graveyard of the Germans. From 1683 to 1793, major German migrations were sponsored by the Habsburgs. The first took place under Emperor Charles V, the second from 1740 to 1740 to 1780 under Empress Maria Theresia, and the third under Enlightened Emperor Joseph I from 1780 to 1790. There is an old adage, which rhymes in German, that aptly describes the hardships the first 3 generations of German colonists in the Danubian basin had to endure. The first, death. The second, want. Only the third had bread. The survivors were a tough lot and prevailed over the elements. They built levees along the great rivers to prevent them from overflowing, drained the marshes, introduced the steel plow to the fertile soil of Hungary, planted orchards and vineyards, and mulberry trees along village streets to sustain a thriving silk industry. Hemp was grown in the remaining marshlands to produce linen and rope. They also introduced crop rotation and selective livestock breeding to the region, largely due to the German Danube Swabian element. About 150 years ago, a Danube Swabian priest named Stefan Augsburger paid tribute to his countrymen's peaceful colonization with this verse. In loose translation, it affirms, "Not with the sword, but with the ploughshare they conquered, the children of peace and heroes of toil." This oft-quoted verse was inscribed on a plaque over the portal of a Catholic church in a Danube Swabian community when it was consecrated over a century ago. Before the communists destroyed the church, one of the townsfolk removed the plaque and spirited it away to Germany, where it is now in a museum. Although favored by artisans and farmers, the Germans invariably received the worst land, more often than not swampy areas endemic to malaria. More than half of the original settlers perished from this disease. In Germany, Hungary became known as the graveyard of the Germans. But the survivors were a tough lot and prevailed over the elements. They built levees along the great rivers to prevent them from overflowing, drained marshes, introduced the steel plow to the virgin soil of Hungary, planted orchards and vineyards, mulberry trees along village streets to sustain a thriving silk industry, and used the remaining drained marshlands to grow hemp to make rope and linen. They also introduced crop rotation and selective livestock breeding to the region. Not only did the Germans in Hungary excel in agriculture, but they also helped develop the cities, which until the middle of the 19th century were more German than Hungarian. In 1880, more than 36% of Budapest's population were Danube Swabians. Budapest is greatly indebted to its Germans because it was their engineers and architects with names like Haussmann, Emmerich, Steindl, Eibel, Lechner, and Hild, who laid out the city's main streets and squares and created such classic edifices as the Parliament buildings, the National Theatre, the Opera, the Bourse, the Millennium Monument, and the beautiful bridges that spanned the Danube. Royal Hungary's preeminence in mathematics, education, and the sciences was largely due to the German element in the population. Franz Liszt, the composer, and Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis, in The Savior of Mothers, were both German Hungarians who achieved lasting international renown. There were many others in every imaginable field of endeavor whose achievements brought great honor to Hungary. We truly appreciate your time spent listening to this captivating episode delving into the history of the Donauschwaben on the Franz von Kearney YouTube channel. Our content is richly inspired by the insightful writings of Frank Schmidt, unraveling the fascinating narrative of the Danube Swabians. If this episode resonated with you, we kindly invite you to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your fellow Donauschwaben relatives, friends, and social clubs. Anyone with an interest in the captivating history of the Danube Swabians. These little things really do help a new channel out. If you're interested in more information on the Donauschwaben or this episode, explore the show notes below for links and related material. Once again, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for tuning in. Until next time.
Wir sind Donauschwaben, Kinderskinder.